Good evening to everyone who has tuned in. I do apologize for the delay. We're just having some technical difficulties. Technology is beating all of us. Hope everyone is good and has been keeping safe and staying healthy in this time that is, got us all in a chokehold. I hope all your families are doing well, you're keeping healthy, you're keeping warm, and you are also spreading the love. My name is Meagan Chauke-Adonis. One thing I'd like to first of all say is to say thank you to Umvuzo Ministries for giving me this platform and this opportunity to actually come and speak about my experiences and to bring a little bit of enlightenment around disabilities in South Africa and youth living with disabilities or youth with disabilities in South Africa and some of the challenges that we experience as young people in South Africa, not only as a young black female with a disability, but I have to, find myself defying the odds in many ways, not just as a female, but also as a black person, also as a person with a disability, and then once again as a person who is obviously young and part of the youth group. Again, my name is Meagan. So how I'm going to start it off is by basically sharing my story. So I am 27. Clearly, obviously, I'm classified within the youth sector. I'm a woman with a disability. I've been visually impaired for the past, I can say since 2015. That's when, load shedding just took place. I lost my sight in 2015 after suffering severe unexpected health complications in late 2014. So let me see how it was quite unexpected. It happened, I was overwhelmed, and obviously the reason why this became quite difficult for me and also brought about different emotions was because of the stigma and stereotypes that I've experienced around disability. And now knowing that I am going to be part of this group and this sector became very challenging and difficult, and I could not find myself accepting and understanding how do I then live a life knowing how others have experienced and how disability and persons with disabilities are marginalized in our country. But I found new hope. I gave birth to my lovely son, Ulisakanya Jordan Tegan Adonis. And my relationship grew stronger with my loving husband, Skumbuzo Adonis. My relationships with my family, my mom, my dad, my siblings, and my in-laws, I grew closer to them. My grandparents, everyone became closer. I did lose a lot of friends, but this taught me a lot that without family, there's not much that you can overcome. But even the family around you does not mean it's blood, but it's the people that you go to when you are at your most weakest point. So basically, just to get to the short of this long story and this journey is that I am now a young person living in South Africa, a black female with a disability, and I am faced with many, many, many challenges. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. There are many South Africans, young children, adults, the elderly that are faced with some of the same challenges that I'm faced with, and some of them have experienced them all their lives. I've only experienced it since 2015, and I find it horrendous. If we look at the stats in South Africa, is that 7.5, if I'm correct, 7.5% of the population is persons with disabilities. And so to some people it might seem small, but it's quite a large group. And even with this, we are still marginalized. Even with opportunities, there are lack of job opportunities, lack of relationship opportunities, lack of freedom, we're being closed and put into a box. And also with the various disabilities, the misconception that is out there is that if you're a person with a disability, you're all the same. Being visually impaired, in a wheelchair, without hearing, whatever the impairment is, you are all boxed in the same group. And we find this to be unfair because my disability is not the same as the next person who is in a wheelchair. But it does not mean that we do not stand together. We definitely stand together. One thing I just wanted to say is that please don't mind my eyes moving around. I do have light sensitivity, so there's a bit of the light in the background, hence why my eyes might move around. But anyways, so in South Africa, what we are finding is that persons and youth with disabilities are marginalized. And we are expected to always defy the odds. And, at first I was excited about this whole defying the odds. And I'm realizing, why are there odds put against us in the first place? Why must I go out into the world and always defy the odds? I shouldn't have to actually defy the odds at all, because there shouldn't be odds put against me. But society has created these barriers that there has to be an expectation that, if I'm successful and I succeed as a person with a disability, it's because I defied the odds. But these are man-made odds that are put in place. So there's a social injustice that is put in place by mere humans who themselves do not realize that as humans, and this is actually, I'm going to mention this because I get this from the chairperson of the Tshwane UNISA Student Forum for Persons with Disability. So it's the National Forum for Students with Disability chairperson, or John Milelo. That is our chairperson. I'm part of that structure as well. He says all the time that as humans, we do not realize that we are all temporarily abled beings. We never know how we will wake up tomorrow. We don't know how we will wake up in 2 days' time. We don't know what might happen to us in about a week's time, a month's time, a year's time. But as humans, we are all temporarily abled beings. And people always forget that your destiny, you do not determine in terms of things, what do I call them? The supernatural things that happen around us. We have no control over them. And so you might look at me and marginalize me, stereotype me, and forget that tomorrow that might be you. That might be your daughter. That might be your mother. That might be your grandmother, your cousin, your relative, whoever, your best friend that will be in that situation where you have promoted that barriers are actually put against this group. And this group is what? Who put us in a group? Another man-made barrier to classify people with disabilities. So now I'm actually supposed to be speaking about youth with disabilities in South Africa. And I've said to the Umvuzo Ministries that I'm going to speak about my own realities, because I do not have to do, extensive and give you fact by fact, because I am a living fact. Everything that I'm saying, it's my truth and it's living fact. As much as people or society or government or structures or corporates might say opportunities are out there for young people with disabilities, it is not true. And I do not want to burst anyone's bubble who might think, there's hope. Yes, there's hope, but you're going to work hard for it. The opportunities that are put out there, they've made sure that it becomes difficult for us to attain our goals. So as a young person, I've got my own goals and aspirations. I want to contribute economically. I want to contribute to my household. I want to have a family. I want to have a home. I want to have a car. I want to progress in life. But because of these barriers that have been put in place by society, structures, and whoever it is that has the power to implement and put these policies and regulations in place, they have made sure that it becomes even more difficult. So yesterday I was sitting with my husband and I was trying to do a little bit of research to see what it is I can find, and I've been trying to do this for the past week, what I can find on the history of youth with disabilities that contributed to South Africa's democracy. And guess what? There's nothing on the internet. And if there is, it's very difficult to find it because I struggled. I sat up. I even stayed up till 2 a.m. yesterday trying to find videos, information on youth with disabilities that have been acknowledged for their contribution towards the democracy that we are currently living in. Looking for inspiration. I thought I would be able to share some inspiration in terms of names, saying whoever in South Africa contributed to the South Africa that we are currently living in, the South Africa that we are now free to go about in. There is nothing. And I asked my husband, what needs to happen in order for these contributors or for contributors with disabilities to be acknowledged and praised as the other contributors? Do we need to be shot down, beaten, walk around naked, I protest, burn towers, burn buildings, etc., for us to actually get that acknowledgement and recognition? And I said, it's an injustice to all persons with disabilities. What are we teaching our youth with disabilities? How do we then empower youth with disabilities to say, you know what, you have a disability, but your future is brighter than what you think. These are the people. Look what has come out of them. Instead, we're teaching them that you will work as hard as you can, you will do your best, you will excel, and you will probably not get acknowledged. And that is disheartening for me as a fellow South African, a young person, a woman, and a person with a disability. How do I then say to young people, there are opportunities? I mean, it does not matter where you come from. It does not matter the background. It does not matter if you come from a privileged home or disadvantaged home. But as a person with a disability, the opportunities are still not there. Many people will say to us, no, opportunities are available for young people with disabilities and opportunities are there for people with disabilities. It is not true. They might be there, but then they segregate you. Within disabilities, for example, let me put it this way. Within disabilities, if opportunity does exist, they will class you according to the type of disability you have for the opportunity. Because we find that institution, corporates, and what is this, government, they're not willing to make provisions or accommodations to accommodate certain disabilities. If I go into an interview and I have the same qualifications as someone who's in a wheelchair, the person who came for the interview who's in a wheelchair is more likely to get that opportunity, that employment. Because you as a person with a visual impairment, you are too much, you're costly to the company, there's too many adjustments that need to be made, there's this and that. So they'd rather not deal with that. And then there's this 2% that for equity. Why is 2% allocated to persons with disabilities? Why only 2%? Because when they say 2%, they are removing the fact that I'm a female, they're removing the fact that I'm a black female, and they just put me in that 2%. So making my chances of excelling and progressing in life to a bare minimum. So all in all, what I'm trying to get to is that as fellow South Africans, we need to fight for our rights. And we have been fighting, and we're not asking for pity. We do not ask for pity. I can tell you this now. Persons with disabilities We work hard. We work hard because we know if we do not put in that hard work, we will not get where we are trying to get to. We put in dedication, we dedicate, and we excel in what we're doing. The only thing is that we do not get the recognition that we deserve, the acknowledgement. We need to work hard. You get positions, you go and you study, and you get given admin positions. You do not progress in that position. You will end up being an admin for the next 10 years, while others are coming in, passing you, progressing in life, and you're still at the same position. And guess what? You probably won't leave that position because you know if you leave that, you quit or you resign, there's no other opportunities that will come your way. Then you become part of the disadvantaged, the unemployed. And also with government thinking or society thinking that persons with disabilities simply just want to receive social grants. As a person with a disability, if I'm receiving social grant and I've got an opportunity to work and earn more, I would take the employment because I am willing, I am ready, I am here. I can do what is expected of me. We do not want to live off social grant. It's not what makes us happy. We settle for social grant because we need to take care of our families. We need to contribute somehow. And also with employment, there's not many first jobs that are available for persons with disabilities. So what do we then put on our CVs if we have never received first employment or first opportunities for us to be able to build up our CVs? Nothing. And then they will ask you, what experience do you have? Where are we supposed to gain experience if no one wants us? And those who want us are looking for us to put us into learnerships. I mean, I cannot go and study so hard and then be expected to go from one learnership to another learnership to another learnership, and there's no solid outcome from it. So not only are we feeling failed by society, we're feeling failed by government, failed by corporates, failed by structures, failed by institutions. I'm a student at UNISA. I'm also an executive forum member of the Tshwane Regional Forum for Students with Disabilities. We have faced many challenges, many challenges, where we have doors closed on us. We raise our issues, our queries, and the doors get shut on us. They tell us about protocol. We follow protocol, and guess what? Nothing happens. Absolutely nothing happens. We get given the bare minimum, year after year after year, bare minimum. We have to go back to our constituents and report to them. And in the long run, it looks like we have failed them, whereby the institutions have failed us. And doors have been closed, and there's nothing that we can do. So I call upon all South Africans, look after your neighbors, look after your loved ones, look after the next person, and look after all fellow South Africans, including persons with disabilities. Because in as much as you say, my life matters, Black lives matters, persons with disabilities' lives also matter. We are not objects, we are not animals, we are not what is the other word to put? But we are not what you can toss aside and put an oversight on. We are humans. We are here. We're not going anywhere. We exist. We can think, we can act, and we can produce. Most people have the misconception that persons with disabilities should not have families, should not be working, should not be advancing in life, should not be I don't know, the misconception that persons with disabilities should just be sitting at home and be closed up and should not be outside without a caregiver and cannot be independent individuals is what has caused a lot of fear in young South Africans with disabilities. If we can show young South Africans with disabilities that the future is bright, then we can take away the misconception, the stereotype, and the stigmas around disabilities and create comfort with young people knowing that with this disability, they are not taken back and barriers will not be put in place to stop them from advancing and excelling in life. But many opportunities exist. We have called upon all stakeholders, and I call upon all stakeholders. Come, challenge us, and see what we are capable of. We're capable of a lot more than what you might think and expect. We are intelligent, we are smart, we are beautiful. I don't know, we are super extraordinary humans. That's what I call us, super extraordinary humans. And as humans, we all have our various disabilities, even though it might not be visible. But we are all humans at the end of the day. And we should all stand when there's marches or protests or any outrage when it comes to communities. What's this word? I'm trying to think of the word. Communities that represent persons with disabilities. All South Africans should be standing up in arms to support them. We stand up in arms to support Black Lives Matter. We stand up in arms to support females. We fight against GBV. We stand against unemployment. We stand against discrimination. But who then stands with us? An expectation that only persons with disabilities can fight this. No, it's for all Africans, all South Africans, and all humankind to fight together, because as humans, we are all temporarily abled beings. So this is the last part I can say to all of this is look at your neighbor, look at your sister, look at your mother, because now I'm speaking about the females for now, not discriminating though. Look at your loved one, look at your partner, and ask yourself, what would I tell them if they went and one day woke up and they had a disability, any disability? How do I then encourage them? Or else in turn, look at yourself and say, if I woke up tomorrow and I have suffered a disability now, and I have to live with a disability for the rest of my life, how would I want society to view me and treat me? And what do I expect from society as a whole? That question is something that people never ask themselves until they find themselves in this situation. I must say, growing up, my biggest fear was actually going blind. Not actually knowing that this is what's going to happen. My biggest fear was going blind. This is the fear of the unknown, but also the fear of what I have seen in our communities. The fear that has been created by society. Society needs to take responsibility and accountability. That these barriers and odds that are put against persons with disabilities are created by the society. We've got acts, legislations, we've got policies that are supposed to be protecting persons with disabilities. But where's the implementation, the regulation, and also the auditing? Who goes and checks that these policies, these legislations, these acts, etc., are actually being implemented? Implementation seems to be a big issue in South Africa because nothing ever gets implemented. And when it is implemented, it's implemented to its bare minimum. Bare minimum. And there's no one who goes and audits compliance because it's too much admin. Too much admin. And we say nothing about us without us, but yet decisions are still being made without us. How is it that we're going to find ourselves in a fully democratic South Africa? Sorry about that. And a fully inclusive South Africa if consultations do not happen with persons with disabilities as well? How many cases have you heard of being reported on your top radio stations or your top news stations speaking about genocides within the disability community, speaking about GBV against persons with disabilities? How many of those get reported? Not many, because society does not want to expose how persons with disabilities have still, till today, 2020, how they are still being neglected. And when these cases come up, the response is, what were they doing without supervision in the first place? Or who was watching them when this happened? Or where were they going when they know they've got a disability? These are questions that shouldn't be asked because we are also human. Our cases of GBV, abuse, whatever it may be, missing, abandoned, neglected, these cases need to get immediate and, immediate attention. And the very much needed attention that any other case would receive. Society, once again, you are failing us, and we call upon you. We call upon government. We cannot put everything on government. Government cannot change the thinking of members of the society, cannot go door by door changing the way you think. Self-introspection needs to take place. Self-evaluation needs to take place. And removing the ignorance and looking at today, how things are and how times are moving. And also calling upon persons with disabilities to change the face of what has been stigmatized and stereotyped as the face of persons with disabilities. Let us give disability a new face. Let us change how we are seen and how we are perceived. We are the youth and we are the future, and we need to lead and guide future generations and also teach past generations and older generations to accept disability and include disability for us to have a disability inclusive South Africa. I hope everyone is well. If you have any questions, please feel free to engage. I will definitely have a look at them. I will respond. I will react. And let us create a disability inclusive South Africa. Let us create awareness campaigns. Let us stand together with any movement that comes with persons with disabilities. Let us be there up in arms and ready to march and create a disability. All persons, an all persons inclusive South Africa, leaving no one behind. God bless and lots of love. Share with me your thoughts, your comments, and any questions. And also feel free to go onto our website, onto our pages. And once again, fellow South Africans, God bless and stay healthy and keep safe.